Hey everyone, welcome to Group Text. Really fun, super cool guest today. Jaleel White became a household name in the 90s, playing the lovable and overly enthusiastic nerd Steve Urkel for 9 seasons on the smash hit sitcom Family Matters. There were Urkel lunchboxes, bed sheets, talking Urkel dolls, literally everything under the sun. In his new memoir, Growing Up Urkel, which comes out November 19th, but is available to pre-order now, Jaleel writes in great detail about getting the role that changed his life, navigating the fame it brought to him and his family, and what life was like after he hung up his pocket protector. Jaleel, I am so happy to have you here. So I'm assuming that publishers have been after you for years to do this. Why now?
I think I have enough life perspective to make it a more well-rounded book. I talk about my childhood extensively, but I'm able to connect certain aspects of my childhood to my adulthood choices, be reflective. You know, every story has 2 sides. You know, I can't stand it when somebody tells one side of a story where clearly they had no culpability, did nothing wrong, and they're just a victim. You know, that's not the nature of the book. Kids see a lot in this business, and it's kind of fun actually to go back and let some of those adults know, you know, that little trick you pulled, I saw that. I just didn't know what to do with it at the time, but I saw that.
Well, one of those stories in the book that I loved was you tell this story about auditioning for the role, and you've been doing commercials and been going out on auditions like any normal kid actor, and you were just tired. How old were you?
I was 12.
12. And you were just over it.
Yeah, I was over it.
And your dad said, you go out on this one more audition and I am going to buy you a Sega Genesis.
It wasn't more or less like that. My dad did something even better than that. He said, I didn't want to go on auditions because they were taken away from my basketball practices. And
yes, because basketball is one of your big loves.
And I'm gonna keep it real. White kids went on more auditions than black kids back then because the roles were a lot more stereotyped. So my white counterpart might go on 10 auditions in a month, and I might go out on 1 audition every 6 weeks. So to get disrupted like that every 6 weeks, it's like, man, this ain't worth it. Like, and I don't even think I'm right for these roles that I'm going out for. So my dad said, anytime you book a job, you can get 1 of anything. Right? That's a powerful thing to say to a 12-year-old.
It's a powerful to say
of anything. But when you look back on it, it's like, I'm going to go to Toys R Us, Circuit City, Foot Locker, someplace where the spend is not going to be any greater than $150 to $200, which at that time, we're talking about 1989, it's just like your parents giving you $1,000 to spend, right? Yeah. So it really made me want that part. And all I wanted at the time was a Sega Genesis.
And did you get the Sega Genesis?
Oh, of course, baby. Once I booked the role, I got the Sega. I got the games. I got everything. Then came the new parenting issue is, well, if he's a regular on this show now, does he get something every week? So it was like, okay.
That you could have made a very lucrative deal for yourself.
Yes, I could have.
But I think being a parent as you are, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. My parents, my mom saw the long-term benefit of me stacking money to go to college. And so that was a very practical and brilliant thing to consider. And I really had made a lot of money to go to college by the time I was 12 years old, quite frankly. I would have had a nice little nest egg to take to college. But my dad saw it differently. My dad realized it's like, Gail, he doesn't understand what's in it for him. So we have to put it in terms for him that he can understand as a 12-year-old. New Jordans, Sega Genesis, smaller things that just mean the absolute world to him. And kudos to my parents for figuring that out.
Oh yeah, big time. But you just brought up something about your mom wanting you to have enough money to go to college. Normally, with child actors, you don't have parents that see the big picture and kind of game it out. Do you realize now how different your experience could have been?
Oh yeah, 100%. We're only as good as the environment we grow up in, the influences that we had. And, my parents made their fair share of mistakes, but their overarching goal was to get me to college and protect me from adult harm. My mom was a hover mom. So I would sneak into the bathroom just having donuts on the set because I wasn't allowed to have sweets on the set. She was a curtain or a door letting me know that she was there. And when I think when people who could have predatorial instincts see that, they know that that's a kid that they probably should stay away from.
All of our parents make mistakes.
Yeah.
When any of us reflect on our childhoods, especially as a parent, you see things that they did that you're like, I will not do those things. But it's important, and I think it's a through line through your life that you have the idea that your parents, A, tried their best and did what they thought was right in your best interests. And that makes a huge difference, I think, in the trajectory of your life.
Tremendously. They put me first. And I do that with my own daughter. From the day she's born, it's like, I'm constantly trying to figure out what her natural gifts are and get her to have confidence just in her natural gifts. What you discover as a parent is that it's not very average for a lot of parents to put their kids first. I feel for parents, for kids who grew up under that circumstance, because as much as I might have certain talents and gifts, if I don't have the advocators and the protectors, brilliance doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Right. Speaking of brilliance, your mother dressed you for your Urkel audition.
Yes, she did.
Did you fight with her getting dressed? Because I can't imagine. You were like, bring it?
No, oh yeah, nah. I'm an all-in kind of kid, so, she was just, that was her second contribution that ultimately led to me landing the role. Her first contribution is getting me there. People really don't understand the stress of that as a parent who has a job when when your beeper goes off in 1989 and it's an agent saying you need to be in Venice at 2:30 tomorrow and you live in Pasadena. Figure it out. Here's the sides. Make sure your kid memorizes this. That story in and of itself, the hectic scramble that a mother is sent into, I think is pretty funny by today's standards. We didn't have cell phones and stuff like that back then. You didn't get a week to prepare. Probably got about 1 or 2 days tops. And then her second contribution is she would generally go through my closet, and if there were things that she had earmarked for, like, a rummage sale or yard sale or something like that, maybe that article of clothing might work out to, show me as a military kid or whatever the audition called for. So in this case, I just had some 2 little jeans that I really couldn't fit anymore. And she's like, well, you look pretty goofy if you put those on. And, she gave me the 2 little jeans, and my dad gave me his glasses, and I was all in. Remember, I was a very focused 12-year-old kid who was determined to get this job so I could buy a Sega Genesis. It wasn't that deep. It wasn't that deep.
No, it was such a basic thing.
It was so basic.
It was so basic. Did you?
So this was Halloween for money. This was Halloween for money.
Oh, 100%. The nice thing is to this day, I can still be bought. I'm just going to put that out there.
Can't we all?
My love can be purchased.
Love, though. Okay. My love can be purchased, though.
Ask my fiance. So did you know when you walked in the room and auditioned that you nailed it?
I knew I had done something special only because in like a moment of desperation at the end to differentiate myself, I decided to do something I had never done before. I walked in posture-wise and talking just like the character. So when you walk in, it says, hey, this is the casting director. It says, oh, this is Jaleel. This is Michael. This is Bill. The producers, et cetera, et cetera. I shook their hands and introduced myself as Steve Urkel, playing the character. I didn't even bother with the, what grade are you in, how long you've been acting, small talk. I went right into just, I don't know, somewhat of an improv of just playing the character. So I could tell they were responding to that. And I did it for that, and I did it for the callback. So I never let them meet Jaleel until they booked me for the job.
That's so smart. And for a 12-year-old to have that kind of experience and chops is very impressive. You became the anchor and your characters for an entire network's Friday lineup. I mean, I think now we look back and people don't remember, A, how TV used to be, and B, how important Family Matters was. Did you realize that at the time, that so much was resting on you, or you were so deep in it that it didn't penetrate?
It's one of my favorite quotes. Before social media, you were the last one to know you were famous.
Yeah.
And, you found out you were famous when you flew to New York and, you were a baggage claim, and some random guys come up to you and ask you for your autograph, and they have actual photos that are like ABC photographs. It's like, how did you get those? I don't even have those, You find out you're famous because you go to the mall and people start following you around, asking for autographs and saying he went into that store, and then the crowd gets bigger to the point where you got to leave or you got to go out of a back entrance. That's how you find out you're famous. So it was a very slow and gradual process, quite frankly. I'd say the first time I really felt like things were changing in my life was doing Regis and Kathy Lee. Yeah, in New York, and I remember we stayed at oh my gosh, the Park Avenue Regency, and when we got into our room, it's me, my mom, and dad, double beds, no big fancy suite yet, just double beds, bed for the kid, bed for the parents, and I remember the phone rang as soon as we walked into the room, and we're putting our bags down, and my dad answered the phone, and my dad just gets into this long conversation with this person on the phone. And finally, my mom, as she's putting our things away, is like, Michael, who are you talking to? This is a hard landline phone in a hotel room.
Right.
And she goes, Gail, it's a fan. And he's a really big appreciator of Jaleel. And said, Jaleel wants to talk to you. And so my dad hands me the phone, and my mom is just biting his head off like, some strange man in New York called our freaking hotel room and you gave the phone to Jaleel. And it's like, but he was, Gail, I'm telling you, I was listening to him. He was saying the nicest things. And just like my mom takes the phone. She's like, okay, that's enough. Thank you so much. And the phone and continues to bite my dad's head off. But again, that was a moment like, checking into hotels under a different name. And this person had figured out where I would be staying because they knew I was going to be on Regis and Kathy the next morning. And that was the first glimpse at like, whoa, what is this? And then after that, it's just, one different story like that after the next.
So you were so different than your character.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that what people don't remember, because nobody goes to tapings of TV sitcoms anymore because there's no more multi-camera shows. So there's not this live audience.
I mean, there's a handful of them. They're out there.
Yes.
You can do it. It's a relic experience, but it ain't the same.
It is. It's an OG experience. You used to change your clothes out of your Urkel costume for the curtain call. People don't realize the whole cast would come out and take a bow. Yeah. To me, that said something very, probably more emotionally mature that you probably didn't even realize you were doing for your age. But it seemed like you were drawing clear boundaries about who you were versus what you were doing. And that usually comes a lot later in life. Was that just instinct, or was it that teenage, oh man, I don't want to look like a dork right now and they're going to make fun of me at school?
I always accepted my costume to be my uniform, no different than an athlete. Seriously, I mean, even my dressing room was actually designed to look like an NBA locker room. And literally NBA lockers. And I put my favorite My favorite athletes' lockers right next to mine. Um, for me, I think it was more, I didn't start off that way. You know, when I was 12, 13, 14, and 15, I was just happy to go to curtain call and I'm wearing my suspenders, probably down by my legs. But when I became a senior in high school and I was headed into college, creating that boundary was, you're right. It was an emotional reaction that, have you enjoyed the performance? That's really what it was for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was if I changed quickly enough, especially if I wasn't in the last scene, then it wasn't even a rushed change. Um, then it was, have you enjoyed the performance? This is the real me. And even back then, people had such a visceral reaction to me coming out in my normal clothes at the end. And I would always shake hands and sign autographs at the end of episodes too. So, these are things that would have been so easy to a messaging, so easy to share with these little devices today, right?
Right.
But this was a contained experience, what my curtain calls were, the reveals of who I really was, on a stage, if you were lucky enough to, watch a live taping.
You had a lot of firsts during Family Matters. Some great, some not so fabulous. Can you share the story about your first kiss? Because, it's one of those ones, like, everyone remembers their first kiss, good, bad, or indifferent, but usually it doesn't happen in a public space.
Yeah.
Share that story?
Yeah, it was, my first kiss came at the hands of a 30-something-year-old woman. And again, even as I say that, she might not have been 30-something. She might have been in her 20s. I don't even know. To me, she was this
old,
majorly grown woman. And we had rehearsed the scene. Steve and Eddie were getting hot at a underground gambling casino, and Steve was at the dice table, and they're wearing tuxedos. And there's something that happens when a live studio audience, enters the picture versus just rehearsing in front of producers throughout the week. And the adrenaline goes up, and certain jokes that you've been punching a certain way, they go up. And this woman was supposed to kiss me right before my next to last dice roll, where I won really big. And then we ended up getting locked into this casino because they didn't want to pay us. And so I'm about to throw the dice, and man, with that hot crowd, she planted one on me that was very different than what I had been experiencing in rehearsals all week. And I had never kissed a girl. Nobody had ever really considered that. So throughout the week, she had just been putting a little peck on me, which was, of the grandma nature. But this was different. She really put me back and said, "Kid, this is our moment." Right? And so I always had this thing, especially being a fan of comedy at a young age. I would never break character, though. The worst thing was for something bad to happen in the scene and for you to ruin the take because you emotionally broke character. So right. I hung in there with the scene, and the scene played out fantastically. And as soon as the director yelled cut, I went to my dressing room and just kind of, took a moment for myself in the bathroom. And my dad starts knocking on the bathroom door, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And by this time I'm crying. I can't even, like, I'm almost involuntary. I'm like, damn, I'm crying. And my dad's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I was like, "Dude, just ask them if they got it clean." And you know what that means. Like, yeah. They got it, because if they got it clean, we're moving on. I don't have to do it again. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
And so then David Duclon, our executive producer, shows up at our door, and it's like, "Hey, what's taking Jaleel, so long? We're moving on to the next scene." And then
you heard the magic words.
I just remember he and my dad.
Yeah, you heard the magic words. Moving on.
Yeah, okay, so we're moving on. So that's already, that's lightening up my spirit a little bit. But I remember he and my dad laughing. They were laughing, and they both were kind of like, they were enjoying a little 90s misogyny that's just kind of like, oh man, we're gonna laugh about this 10 years from now. And I'll never hold that against them, because this is rounding out into a bigger discussion. Even when I went back out for the next scene, all the men on camera and the grips and the gaffers or whatever, they're high-fiving me. Oh, she really put it on you. Oh, you really hung in there, young fella. You know, they're giving me taps on the butt like I'm in the locker room. And so because I was a boy, that was handled differently. You know, and even I can't go back and vilify that woman because I was a boy that she felt she could do that to. And
Right.
this just spices up the scene and it ain't no big deal. By today's standards, when I look back on it and I shared it with the editor, the story's like, man, that has to go in the book. It's like, it's just, you know, it kind of speaks to the way things have changed, what's appropriate. Um, and you know, I laughed at it a bit because even though it was not handled properly, I was still surrounded by so much love that it was clearly communicated to me. Whatever happened out there is okay, and I guess when I get older, it's going to happen a lot more and again and again.
And I'm just laughing to myself because you could have worked that to your advantage, meeting girls in high school, going, you know, I know what to do.
Yeah.
You could have worked it to your advantage.
Melissa,
Trust me, I'm a professional. I am a professional.
I wish I were that savvy. Melissa, if I were as savvy at dating as I was at my job, oh my gosh, I would have been another Charlie Sheen story when it came to girls. I didn't have the savoir-faire to know how to translate that off the screen.
What was it like in high school? Because I'm sure some people were fans. Some people wanted to be your friends because you were famous. And I'm sure because a lot of kids are just mean or don't get it, you become a target.
Yeah. Yeah. No, high school was interesting. The thing that was a saving grace is, again, no social media. You know, all of us for the most part, Candace Cameron, myself, you know, so many of us, we actually went to normal schools. Most of them went to private schools, though. The difference with me was my mom was obsessed with sending me to public school. Somehow she thought she was making me a tougher boy by sending me to public school throughout this experience. So I would pop back in to my classrooms every 2 to 3 weeks when we went on hiatus in between, you know, filming blocks of episodes. And it was always a marvel to my classmates that I was caught up. I was raising my hand. I was taking tests, quizzes, answering questions. It's like, how the heck is he doing this? And he's, you know, it was like, it was a party trick after a while, you know, but I was really keeping up on the set with my studies. And it was tough at first, which I talk about in the book in depth, especially just some of the racial climates. I was the only Black kid in my entire school for the 7th grade, which was, again, no fun in 1989. Literally the only one. It was white and Asian, and there I was right there on the Mississippi River. And then I went to an all-Black school that was kind of like, you know, a mini version of the school where Joe Clark taught in Lean on Me. And, you know, I learned the perils of being famous there were not too good either. Those are the classrooms where you don't want to raise your hand. You don't want to look smart. You don't want to, you know, be a teacher's pet or anything like that. So after those 2 experiences, I landed at a wonderful high school called South Pasadena High School, which was kind of a hybrid between the 2 schools. My mom just kept hustling to meet the perfect principal. And Principal Ben Ramirez, may he rest in peace, amazing man. He really did. He went out of his way to ingratiate me into the school. And that's where I stayed for all 4 years for high school. And I went to prom. I played on my high school basketball team. I did a lot of normal stuff.
I was going to ask, do you remember your prom date?
Oh, man. No, my prom date was a sizzler. Man, she was awesome. I will always love my prom date. She was just a special girl. She's awesome. And she's brilliant.
And there's also, which made me laugh, there's a picture in the book that is you with your high school basketball team saying, my entire basketball career in one photo.
Yeah, I didn't. My experience did not go as planned. I won't give it away, but my experience playing on my high school basketball team did not go as planned, and it's probably more relatable to a lot of amateur athletes than you would imagine.
Oh no, I can imagine. I can imagine. You ended up going to UCLA, and the reason I bring this up, I'm sorry to laugh, you decide to be a film and television major. Okay, kind of a layup.
No, it
No,
wasn't.
but I'm just saying, you came in with some real life experience. And the reason I'm telling you this is I was a history major, but I took my freshman English seminar on film noir.
Okay.
And completely by chance, we were writing a paper on the Maltese Falcon and this weird chain of events. My parents were at a dinner party sitting with the director, talked about my paper. The director said, that's all completely wrong. That is not how anything happened. I changed my paper and got a D because the teacher did not want to hear how shit really happened.
Yeah.
So that's why I bring that up.
I
Because
love that, Melissa. That is such a relatable story. Oh,
that's,
yeah.
I mean, you got to be sitting in class going, that's not how it works. How did you navigate that?
You know, that was my time at UCLA studying film and television was so eclectic. It really was. And I say eclectic because there were some classes where I learned a lot, like where I really got a chance to, you know, I broke down Citizen Kane and these other films or whatever. Like, oh, okay, I didn't even understand that that's visually what the director is trying to convey, et cetera. And you get all.
I hate to break it to you. Probably not. But that's a different story.
Either way, even if not, right? Film is supposed to make you feel something.
Right.
And so if a certain shot or mise-en-scène of a scene makes you feel something, then academically you can explore that. Then there's the reality of our business. And these people have no idea how to get a job, how to keep that job, and the politics that go into what it is that we do every day in the business. So it was really redundant of me to want to go to film school. But at that time, my heroes were people like John Singleton, Ron Howard, Shane Black, who had written Lethal Weapon. I wanted to follow in their footsteps to become an executive producer, writer myself. So, you know, all my mom had ever ingrained in my head is that no one's ever going to hire you to do that without a college degree. Mm-hmm. So it was, I really almost wish I had gone to school to study something else completely different than the business. I wish I had gone to business school or law school or, you know, something like that beyond my 4-year bachelor's degree. But, you know, I had it in my brain that this was the path to follow my heroes. And so because of it, it forced me to deal with a lot of people who were really good academics, but they wouldn't have been good at keeping a job in our business for 5 minutes.
I had an experience with a friend who's now a professor and teaches, I don't want to give it away, specifically about one film. And I know that everything he is saying, he is full, it's wrong. And we were at a dinner and one of my friends like, are you trying to ruin his life's work? Like, you don't have to ram it down his throat that he's wrong.
Right. And this dude is giving college credits and kids are coming here somehow pouring into his classroom, feeling that they are enriching themselves one step closer to that degree. Listen, I hate admitting it, but I love that I was accepted to UCLA.
Of course.
That's a prestigious thing. But I do wish after 2 years I had dropped out. It's
really?
Yeah. And I say it in the book. We're running into an issue now that's starting to become very, I've never been degree checked in my life, Melissa.
Well, neither have
I. Ever, okay? We're running into a period, and pandemic made it really, really apparent. College was supposed to lead you to a better career. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of people in our country, it's just leading them to a lot of debt.
Yep.
And that has to be figured out. I don't know how it's going to get figured out, what's going to be the tipping point. But, you know, college is, for a person like me to have left college early would have been no different than Kobe Bryant leaving college early to go to the Lakers.
Right.
I just didn't, I had my mom on my shoulder, just clinging to those boomer values, going, you will do no different. And that's the difference.
Yeah, just wait till your daughter's in it. You're going to be like, you're not leaving. And by the way, yes, that history degree has served me so well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, is it crushed it, right?
I use it all the time.
All the time.
But there is something to be said. I mean, my son wanted to leave and go to work. I'm like, no, you have to stay. Because it is something that in hindsight you will be very proud of. But in today's world, I agree with you.
It depends.
I agree with you.
Like I said, I am not advocating that, oh, college is done, screw college. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, though, when you get to college, you now have to be aware of the opportunities that may help you grow faster than what college can provide. I had a chance to be, I got my own show on UPN, and I left that opportunity to other people who hijacked that opportunity for themselves while I was in school. And then when that show got canceled, those people went on to be co-executive producers and executive producers on other projects because I gave them 21 episodes to put on their resume. Got it?
No, I agree.
When I agree with you like that. I'm like, oh man, I got gamed up. I got gamed up a little bit.
But I agree with your philosophy 100%.
Get in.
However, it made your mom really happy.
We've gotten past it. We've worked this all out. We've worked this all out.
There have been so many reboots. You turned down the Family Matters reboot. Was it feeling like you have to preserve something that was such a special snapshot of time in America, like, in a larger social sense? I know we're having like this very academic conversation. And you wanted to leave that legacy standing, or were you just like, nah, just doesn't feel right. I don't like the script. I'm different.
One, I have to go on record. I didn't turn it down.
Oh.
I couldn't be heard. Our former executive producer just kind of, I don't know, he lacked the ability to accept my maturation on any level. And I kind of got to see a shark side of his personality trying to assemble the show. So for me, it was quite simple. And I talk about this in depth in the book because I don't want to mince any words. It was quite simple. I said, hey man, just show me a showrunner who has the stories that would translate in today's society. And he couldn't produce that. And the studio couldn't produce that. They were more interested in me signing on the dotted line to say that I was bound to do something for, oh, by the way, half the amount of money that I got paid to do it the last time. And we'll worry about assembling the writers, the producers, the directors, and the final package that ultimately goes to, I think it was Netflix at the time. And it's like, oh, no, guys. It's like, I'll know whether the show will work just based on the stories we're going to tell and the cast that's assembled. So it was always my opinion that, may she rest in peace. She's a sister for life for me. That's Michelle Thomas, who played Myra on the show. Mm-hmm. Michelle completed a triangle of love between myself and Laura Winslow. And then also Stefan, if you throw it in there, it makes it a square. And a lot of sitcoms are based on just tension, not getting the girl, and people joking on each other. And that relationship could have carried into something young adult, something very Big Bang Theory. And she wasn't here to complete that. So the ideas that they had of, Steve and Laura just have a, Steve Urkel Jr., and he's so like me. I'm like, guys, that's the Twitter pitch. Like, it's kind of insulting for you to write that down on a piece of paper as you've taken that from Twitter and call it an intellectual property that you own. Like, come on, man, let's not do that. So I had different ideas about what I knew in my heart would work because I really listened to the audience. I always want audiences to know whether it's my book or whether it's something I'm acting in. For me, it's always been about the audience experience. I got the best night of taping in front of a live audience when I felt that they'd had a blast being there. For certain other people, it's an egotistical exercise of I'll do what I want to do and you will be subjected to watching it. Point out the sitcom reboots that have worked. I can name one, and that's The Conners. I think The Conners did a great job right out the gate. Then, unfortunately, their namesake star was removed, which was sad and ridiculous in itself. But Lori, John, Sarah, they're powerhouses themselves. I think the messaging of that show translated then, and ironically, it's still relevant now. So their storylines don't look, outdated. Like, what are you doing? Are you just not, there's no way to really introduce modern technology and where life is gone into a Family Matters reboot right now. And I have great ideas. I really did. I had fantastic ideas, but it was about power and control in this really twisted way. And I was just like, guys, I don't even care about power and control. I just want to make sure we win. Because going on air dressed like that for people to watch one episode and then absolutely trash us for every episode afterwards, I'm like, oh, I can't do that to my daughter. I got a daughter in middle school. I'm like, I know. I played a game to win.
Well, before I let you go, I have to talk about, because I would be remiss, your new game show.
Hey!
Flip Side. Tell me about the show. By the way, game shows are the best gig ever.
They really are. They really are. I mean, let me tell you something. What a blessing that was. It came out of nowhere. The show's called Flip Side. And we basically asked two different groups of people a similar question, and they've got to pick the most popular answer. We asked doctors, we asked patients, we asked flight attendants, we asked passengers. After that, we've got a great speed round that's pretty much just this or that. Pancakes or French toast. And
pancakes.
Okay, hey, bing. That's either going to be a green or a red.
Right.
I think pancakes was the answer for that one. And then we have a great lightning round, a speed round, a bonus round. And it's the show's just taken off with people. It really has. I know it's taken off with people because when I go to the grocery store, any woman past a certain age especially likes to come up to me and they say the nicest things about Flipside in a whisper. And for me, even though social media is what it is, someone coming up to me in the streets telling me that they appreciate something that they're seeing on TV is still the highest benchmark of something working.
Jaleel, the book Growing Up Urkel is available for pre-order and out officially on November 19th. Flipside, check local listings for airings with bonus airings. We love the bonus.
Yes.
On the Game Show Network. Jaleel, you are so smart and so fun. I honestly wish every interview could be like this.
Oh, thank you, Melissa. Thank you. And I loved your mother. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Your mother is powerhouse. I was upset with myself actually in her last year because she performed right up until the end, and my parents went to see her, and I just remember them pounding on me. Jaleel, you got to go see Joan Rivers. I don't know how much longer she's going to do it. You got to go see her. And I didn't get a chance to see her, but I just had to give your mother her props. She was one of the baddest ladies that never got a fair shake in late night.
Well, you are smart and funny and fabulous, and the book is wonderful.
Thank you.